What is going on, everyone? Welcome into Big Time Football Talk. So we're going to talk top corners for the 2023 NFL Draft. This is going to be quick, be concise, to the point. I love evaluating corners. It's one of my favorite positions. Starting with number 6, we're going to go top 6 guys. 6 is Kelee, Ringo out of Georgia. Ringo's an interesting guy, former 5-star, number 4 overall recruit in the nation, number 1 corner in the 2020 recruiting class, redshirted first year at Georgia, burst onto the scene last year as a redshirt freshman, interception in the national title game. You know, what stands out is the size for Ringo, 6'2", 207. You know, he's got a very, very good muscular build all throughout his body. You know, I really like the way he plays in zone coverage. He is physical with receivers, and he does open up in turn pretty well. In zone coverage, has really good straight line speed, and it showed up in the combine where he ran 4.36. Where's number 5 for Georgia, and you know, is a guy that you know, with his size, really does look like a safety or almost an undersized linebacker. But yeah, Ringo, yeah, like I said, you know, it's always interesting the former 5-star guys like Ringo. It just shows that you know, from an early age they were really given a lot of respect for what they could do as far as their ability. And yeah, this is a guy that had a really nice. It was a short career, but a really nice career. And you know, nice season last year in 21, and then a nice season this year was a big part in the reason Georgia won back-to-back national titles. I think is a guy that you know, with his, you know, does lack the change of direction a little bit. I think this is a guy that some teams are not going to like, some teams are going to like. If they want a guy that can, you know, lock down, you know, bigger receivers who are not as good at changing direction or not as, you know, quick twitch and shifty. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to touch on with Kelee, Ringo. You know, very good football player, and you know, I think, you know, once upon a time, you know, heading into this season, some people had him as the number 1 corner on the board, and has slipped a little bit, but still a very good player, and I gave him a very high grade. And you know, there's a lot of traits that you like about Ringo. So next guy, it was close. You know, my 5 and 4 kind of interchangeable, but number 5, it's Deonte Banks for Maryland, and yeah, Banks, he, you know, pretty good size too, pretty thick body, lean, muscular build. Where's number 3 for Maryland? You know, fairly long arms. A guy that ran a really nice time, like Ringo, running 4.35. You know, Banks played pretty well in the Michigan game. Was one of the games I watched. Had a nice game against SMU. Does pretty much everything very well. I would say there's not really, you know, maybe. He's not always a super aggressive tackler, but there's, you know, as far as, you know, burst, you know, closing speed, you know, recognizing plays, you know, everything you want in a corner he can do. Turn and run abilities, no problem for Deonte Banks. And, yeah, as a guy that, you know, a redshirt junior, so has some experience, you know, playing football. And, yeah, I think, you know, Banks is a guy that, you know, could be a year 1 starter in the NFL. I think he has some upside for sure. And yeah, that's you know, pretty much all I wanted to touch on with Deonte Banks. There's really not a lot of negatives, you know, in the guy's game. You know, mirrors receivers super well. He's very good in press, man, and off coverage. You know, can play zone, you know, cover, you know, with his speed and agility, covers a lot of ground in zone. So, but yeah, I like his man coverage ability. It was very good. Zone coverage is very good. You know, it's all very good, like I had said. So number 4 is Cam Smith out of South Carolina. Cam Smith, the size is pretty nice, 6'1", 180 pounds. I like him. I like Cam Smith as a tackler. He's pretty aggressive, does recognize plays pretty quickly, and then just, reacts and just goes and makes plays. Was a guy that was very good this year and last year for South Carolina. And, South Carolina seems to be a school that just produces, pretty good defensive players year in and year out. Ran a really nice time for his size at 4.43. Does play pretty fast. You see him turn and run with receivers. I do like his ability to make plays on the ball. He does do a good job of always fighting to get every pass breakup, and he has pretty good ability to come down with interceptions. I wish he was a little more fluid as far as hip wise, but it's still pretty good. This is a guy that he's got, not as, he's got pretty good arm length. It seems like, when he plays off man coverage, he seems to, really break on underneath routes really well, whether it's a curl or like an in-breaking route. Does a really good job with that. A guy it's not afraid to get physical, whether he's in man-to-man, zone, all sorts of coverage. Cam Smith was a guy that I wasn't sure I was going to like, but there's just, there is a lot of elements to his game that are very good and good nonetheless. So, his tackling doesn't always play with a sense of urgency as far as coming up to making tackles, but he can do it. And he certainly is capable of making open field tackles, whether that's flying up and chopping a guy legs from underneath him, or, just coming up in working through the trash and making a tackle. But that's number 4, Cam Smith. Number 3, DJ Turner out of Michigan. Got the privilege to watch DJ Turner a lot these past couple years as a Michigan fan. And, he does have very good speed. That showed up at the Combine running 4.26, and it also, shows up on film. Went against some of the best receivers this year. Did a really nice job against Marvin Harrison in the Ohio State game. Played well against Penn State. Going again, you saw him matched up with Mitchell Tinsley, Parker Washington. Good game in the Michigan State game, going against the state receivers that are pretty good. Turner is a guy that he'll be effective as a blitzer with his speed. Can stay with receivers downfield with the speed. He's got some pretty good twitch. Can play zone coverage. Michigan did play a decent amount of man coverage, so you got to see his ability in man coverage. It's certainly very good. He's a guy that, not really great size at 5'11", 178 pounds, but, does look like he's got a build where he could, add a few more pounds of muscle. But yeah, DJ Turner, guy that really burst onto the scene last year for Michigan. I didn't really know much about him, but started playing more and more last year and did a really nice job. Made a crucial tackle in the TCU game on Quentin Johnston in the open field, even though Michigan still couldn't capitalize on the ensuing possession. But, big, played well in big games, went against, battle tested against good receivers, fast 40 time, moves well, can change direction very well. DJ Turner, he should be higher on most people's lists just because the guy checks so many boxes. It's a shame that he's, somewhere in the 10 to 15 range as far as ranked corners. It's too bad people aren't more high on this guy because really checks all the boxes. And not only does he check all the boxes, he does, just about everything exceptionally well. Maybe not super long arms, but, fairly good length. This is a guy that, starting, numbers were down a little bit this year just because, like I touched on, was going against better receivers. But, yeah, DJ Turner, played well in Michigan's secondary and, was one of several, very talented defensive backs that Michigan has. And like people were saying, he's probably the fastest guy, or Michigan staff and players are saying he's probably the fastest guy on the team. And also he made Bruce Feldman's freaks list in the preseason. So DJ Turner comes in at number 3. Number 2, bit of a surprise here because this was a guy that I said was going to be my number 1, but it turns out is my number 2, and it's Christian Gonzalez, Oregon. Gonzalez, like I touched on in my breakdown of Gonzalez, I mean, he's just a very good athlete and just does not allow a lot of separation due to his length and size. He's over 6'1", runs 4.38. So like the other guys I touched on, has very good long speed, and he has very good burst and short area quickness. Gonzalez is like DJ Turner, really a guy that just checks all the boxes of what you're looking for in an NFL cornerback. A guy that played really well last year at Colorado and then just really had a monster breakout year this year at Oregon. This is a guy who was a 4-star recruit out of the Texas area, or out of the state of Texas, I should say. Really got his chance to shine this year at Oregon. Had a heck of a matchup, like I touched on with Drake London last year. Did give up some catches, but that's going to happen when you go against a top-notch receiver like that. And this is a guy that really does some good things in man, does some good things in zone, can make tackles, not overly, kind of like Banks and. Kind of like Deonte Banks, he's not doesn't always want to get physical, but when a running back is in the open field, he can fly up and make a tackle, whether he chops him down or just makes a nice wrap-up tackle. And when a receiver catches the ball, he does close in quickly and just limits gains and limits yards after catch. So that's number 2. Number 1 was Devon Whitherspoon from Illinois. And, Whitherspoon was a guy that I was not giving him a lot of respect. I just did not watch his tape. I just watched a highlight, and I thought Gonzalez for sure was going to be my number 1, but Devon Whitherspoon. I mean, the hitting ability is unreal. It's some of the best tackling, hitting, closing speed, reacting to screens and run plays that I've ever seen, and he's a effective blitzer. And this is a guy that just does it all. I mean, man coverage, zone coverage, the speed shows up. Only 5'11", but he plays much bigger than that. I mean, very good play strength. Elite level competitive toughness. Elite tackler, and just a guy that's very good athlete. A guy that just there's. Not only was I giving him, very good grades, I was giving him elite grades as well. This is a guy that just, whether it's change of direction, whether it's, like his ability to read plays is an elite. He does that at an elite level. And I was handing out multiple elite grades, like I said, and I'd never do that with players, but Devon Whitherspoon is just a stud, and was a key part of why Illinois had so much success this year on the defensive side of the ball, and just a very good football player. And this is a guy that, I posted a TikTok of him making that hit on C.J. Stokes from Michigan, and a lot of Raiders fans want this guy, and that's who I would take over Gonzalez at 7. Even though the Lions, I sound crazy as a Lions fan, if the Lions did take him at 6, I mean, there'd be a lot of Lions fans upset, but I would challenge them. I would say if you really dive into his tape and his highlights, then you probably wouldn't be disappointed, because this guy has, there's a chance for real high-end upside. There's a chance for Hall of Fame potential with this guy. And if it's a guy that was, 0-star recruit, really had to work for playing time, really had to work and get better. And boy, has he made the most of that. And, guy that started off as a community college, made the most of his opportunity, and he's turned into a star. And in my opinion, is the number one corner, should be the number one corner off the board, whether he goes to the Raiders at 7, wherever he goes. I think that that team is just going to get a phenomenal player, a year one starter, and a potential Hall of Fame talent. So thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Time Football Talk. Make sure to stay tuned for more episodes and clips from the show. Till next time, peace.